Happy birthday, Shah Rukh Khan. Where do I have to start? Being a Telugu speaking Indian, growing up in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, where Telugu cinema and its stars loom larger in our homes and theatres, my knowing of SRK and his legacy is very different, say, from an average Hindi speaking Indian growing up on a staple diet of Hindi cinema. SRK was introduced, at least to me, primarily through his songs, which mostly came in Super Hit Mukabla and then the abundant TV ads before any of his movie performances. What I remember mostly are Bazigar songs and Dar songs, the famous Tu Hai Meri Kiran. More than the songs, SRK also left a huge imprint and recall value mostly because of the ads, which were very entertaining and different at that time. For a normal moped Hero Punch ad, he played a dual role, which possibly was the first time somebody played a dual role in an ad, and then he gets to merge into one person. I remember that as a kid, that blew my mind. The first film that I saw in a theater was DDLJ, that was dubbed into Telugu as Preminchi Pelladta, and that theater was packed. I definitely enjoyed the film as a kid, and the fascination mostly was about seeing the foreign country in which it was made and then knowing that they would sell alcohol in a gas station. That came as a culture shock to me and my parents and pretty much of the audience. Anyway, Telugu cinema has had many love stories, so it wasn't like it came as an oasis in a desert, but it was certainly different that the boy didn't want to elope with the girl, and we all know what happened in the climax, which was very different back then. Besides this film, for many years it was mostly watching his movies on TV through the DD National and little later on satellite, where I remember watching many of his films like King Uncle, Bazigar, Anjam, Karan Arjun. Bazigar and Anjam was different, and they drove fear in me as a kid knowing SRK, especially Anjam. I'm not sure in what order I saw these films versus DDLJ, but that anti-hero image of SRK stayed with me for a while. Even as he continued to entertain folks from the south of the Vindhyas in the late 90s through his super hit songs from Pardes to Dil To Pagale to Duplicate, all of which gave him an image as a lover boy with great comic timing. Kuch Kuch Hota Hai essentially cemented that image and became an aspirational figure for boys to impress girls, and similarly for girls to expect SRK-like romantics in their lives. I wouldn't go into all of his films now, but I want to quickly quote some of the other films that I watched in theaters directly in Hindi to see the phenomenon in action directly. I saw films like Fir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani, Josh, Hey Ram, Mohabbatein, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, Swadesh, Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, some of which were hits and some of them were misses. But much of those films still held that same image as a lover boy with comedy timing. The only film in this list probably broke that image is Swadesh. And even Swadesh, I went into theater expecting it to be a Lagan, and therefore was little disappointed by that film. Later, Swadesh is certainly looked upon as one of the best decisions that SRK took in his film career. Most importantly for me though, it is his image that evolved from his financial success outside of his film's box office collections. As we all know, he was pretty much there in every major ad in the 90s and 2000s, which probably gave him a great financial success because he purchased KKR in IPL, which is when we all came to know more about his financial success, because now he's rubbing shoulders with Ambani. The notion that you can compete with the biggest corporates of the country and be seated at the same table doing their business is definitely a big achievement, and this is definitely a symbol of rags to riches story that everybody would want to emulate but can think of it as impossible. There's a common saying in the Telugu state, "Nuvu emana Chiranjeevi anukuntunnava," meaning, do you think you are Chiranjeevi? Similarly, it happened for SRK, where it became a common thing to say, do you think you are SRK? Now, when do we use this? We generally use this to say to those folks who dream beyond their means and those dreams look impossible. With this, he became a king outside of the industry. And even within the industry, during this time, only his films were finding box office success, whereas other stars couldn't find the same amount of success. Now, in the midst of all of these success came a change. All of this probably led him to select bad scripts, which became inferior films and therefore box office failures. While he was going through all of this, his peers found their own space and started giving big blockbusters. And therefore, SRK's image started coming down overall, despite having his huge financial empire. After a hiatus, SRK is now back in all his glory this year, having pocketed 2,000 crore blockbusters and one more in waiting for December, in collaboration with the most successful director ever, not just by success ratio, which is 100%, but purely by setting new record collections with every outing. Dunky will most definitely have a dent in the south of India, as Salar is also coming at the same time. Even though the slice of collections percentage wise is smaller, it can impact the film getting into 1000 crore club. The world is waiting, and I can't wait to watch Donkey at the cinemas this December. And once again, happy birthday SRK.